You've just stepped into your new role as an enterprise product manager. The title's shiny, the salary's impressive, and your LinkedIn box is buzzing with congratulations. But then you open your first program board meeting invite. 20 attendees, all with different titles, different agendas, and as you'll soon discover, very different ideas about what your product should do. You'll be listening to the marketing director talk about the brand experience, the compliance officer warning about looming regulations. The CIO will want to integrate with 3 different existing platforms for cheap. And somewhere in the corner, a finance manager is quietly asking if this whole initiative can be done for half the budget. By lunchtime, you realize that this isn't a product you're managing. It's a political, technical, and operational ecosystem. And you're right in the middle of it. And while no one says it out loud, you know, if you can't deliver value here, it won't be the product that fails. Your career may take the hit. That's the reality of managing products in the enterprise world. It's not the same as working in a small team or a startup or a side group within an organization like an innovation team where you can move fast and break things. In the enterprise, you move deliberately. You plan for scale. You play the long game. You deal with legacy systems, complex processing, and enough stakeholders to fill a small theater. And you have to worry about operational support. But here's the thing. If you can master enterprise product management, you'll gain the ability to influence at the highest levels, steer multi-million-dollar roadmaps, and shape the customer experience for thousands, sometimes millions of users. So today, I'm going to share 10 things you need to know about managing products in an enterprise.
The Better Business Analyst Institute
presents the Better Business Analyst Podcast with
Benjamen Walsh.
Welcome back to the Better Business Analysis Podcast with your host, Benjamen Walsh. Now, that was a big intro, bigger than usual, because this is a big topic. And like many of you, I haven't had the official title of Enterprise Product Manager. However, I have been an Enterprise Product Manager, if you know what I mean. I've been managing products from the enterprise level, external products, and you might find yourself in a similar role. You might be a product manager, you might be a BA, you might be in another role. And you need to know why the enterprise is different to working in a small organization. These are survival strategies, battle tested in boardrooms, project war rooms, and delivery stand-ups across the corporate world in my experience. So let's dive in to these top 10 tips that you need to know. Number 1 is that enterprise products are more than just features. Think in terms of ecosystem, not isolated functionality. Really important. It's the difference here. A new HR system in a government agency isn't just a digital form. It impacts payroll, compliance reporting, union agreements, and even workforce morale. Features are only valuable if they integrate into the existing business processes, right? Or, the broad business process. Some might need to change, and they meet the broader organization goals. Avoid focusing purely on the shining object features without understanding systematic impacts. So important. Map dependencies across systems before even committing to development or even the project. Number 2 is that your stakeholders are a crowd, not a committee. What I mean by that is that when you build your stakeholder map early, and you should update it often, you might find that there are way more competing priorities in a larger organization, okay? And there's a lot of politics at play. An example here might be a bank's mobile app, right? You're upgrading it. You have different customers, branch managers, compliance officers, IT security, marketing, and regulators, all with different must-haves. So you need to expect competing priorities and resolving them as part of your job. Use personas to understand customer segments, stakeholder motivations, the customer side, and you need to develop communication plans that should be tailored and not one size fits all. What you can do here is use the matrix between the effort required and the value for the customer, and make sure that that value aligns with your strategic outcomes. Number 3, this is so much more important. I know this is important everywhere now, but enterprises is very, very important for storytelling. Data will make or break your decisions. Treat product data like a strategic asset, not an afterthought or just one of the measurables that you've got. If you had like a telecoms provider which wanted to reduce churn by 15%, they might look at analyzing call center logs and usage patterns, and they'll use that to redesign customer retention offers. So they're using large data they've got, looking for patterns, and then coming up with techniques to design something. You need to know your product's data sources, quality, and ownership. That second one, that last point is the most important, which is who owns the data. Sometimes no one does. So that might be your first initiative. Decisions backed by evidence gain faster buy-in everywhere across the organization. And another tip here is that data is really, you could have heaps of data. It could be really hard to articulate. So don't go, oh, well, here's some numbers here, here's a percentage here. Your executive team will need that summarized. So use analytics and use dashboarding. And use the data to justify your roadmap priorities and post-release improvements. So what are you going to do next? Number 4 is that your product roadmap, right, for your product, or roadmaps, if there's roadmaps for each feature, must align to enterprise strategy. Every roadmap review, you need to check that you're aligning, and this is where it came from, your organization's strategic objectives. You don't know what those are, ask the executive team. If the strategy is to improve customer self-service, then your chatbot enhancements should prioritize those over cosmetic UI changes. I've posted a link today, LinkedIn today, about how important UX and UI is. So don't throw that away and make sure you've got some time to focus on that in a holistic way. But if you want to improve customer service, you need to make sure that UX is great. Link every major backlog item to a strategic goal through strategic themes, through your epics, ideally. Avoid delivering high effort features that don't move your business forward or have a high impact on a large amount of your users. Now, you will have raging fans who are users who love your product, and sometimes not all customers are equal. But the feedback you need to get from there is less from the data and more from these kind of one-on-one focus groups you can have who might be talking about a future initiative. You can use things like people giving customers the option of rating on features so you can get their feedback and then they can have ideas. But sometimes it might only be 10% of your user base that want a feature. And at the moment, to align with your strategic goals of growing more customers, you might need to focus on a feature that's liked by more of your, mass market. Okay. Or that could be a feature that your competitor has that's done really well. Keep executives engaged with strategic alignment dashboards. So this is where the dashboards come in, like the last point around data, that you could visualize it in terms of strategic objectives and then show how your roadmaps link to that. Number 5 is that the backlog, so the work queue, is your battlefield. You need to prioritize ruthlessly if you're working in the product world. You can't do everything at once. If you don't have enough in the backlog, then, you don't have enough insights. In like a health system rollout, patient safety, right? Patient safety is a critical item, and it will trump non-essential reporting features every time, even if they were requested by senior staff. Apply scoring like Moscow. There are other scoring methods out there that are quite good too. Balance short-term tactical wins with these long-term strategic investments. So you have both longer-term, move the dial kind of stuff, and then you have tactical wins that might be smaller wins that get you up to there. Expect political priorities and make them transparent, but sometimes they will drive your decisions, if you like it or not. Number 6, product management is a team sport. You can't do it alone, even if you're the lonely product manager. Build relationships across delivery, ops, business units. If you're doing an ERP upgrade, it could succeed because the project manager and the product manager and the BA and the DevOps team all work together from day one. Delivery is never a solo effort. Empowering your BAs, designers, and testers is paramount. You want them to be on board and align with your product vision. Recognize and value contributions from non-technical stakeholders too. So you focus groups, teams, or people from finance or whatever it is, make sure they feel involved too as like this onion of delivery. Joint ownership of outcomes builds shared accountability. So that's the outcome, but just be aware that if you've got a product owner or a business owner, you probably only want one of those. Number 7, compliance is part of the product, okay? Don't just focus on all the cool stuff. You need regulatory compliance. Engage compliance officers and security teams early. They're not blockers, they're enablers. You need to look at it with that mindset. If you had like an e-commerce platform, you could avoid costly rework by involving privacy officers in the requirements phase, right? Do that. Don't do it at the end, not just a sign-off point. Regulation, security, privacy, they need to be baked in from the start. Compliance work can be used as a selling point for customer trust, and that's becoming more and more critical with AI and when there's more personal information on the internet. Map those compliant checkpoints into your delivery time and expect they might take a little while or cost you money. Number 8 is that change management is non-negotiable. You need to treat user adoption as a deliverable, not a lucky outcome. A large insurer that I know, they were changing the claim system and they failed because training was optional. Okay. You need to improve uptake, right? And you do that by doing structured onboarding when it's rolled out and getting people involved. Communication, training, and support are all part of that product lifecycle, not someone else's responsibility. Engage change managers early or own the role yourself in small organizations or hire one, but someone's got to own it. If you don't have a change manager, you own it. Measure adoption and feedback, right? And not just go live dates. And of course, so if it's an external product, you'll be measuring customer adoption, and internally, you'll be measuring user adoption. Number 9, continuous improvement usually beats big bang releases. You release small and fast and iterate. This is after you've got your base product, just to be very clear here. If you have a public transport ticketing system, we're rolling one out in New Zealand at the moment, contactless payments, right, across New Zealand. You do it in a pilot city first, you iterate based on feedback, and then you roll it out nationally. But there is another dimension to making sure that you have an end-to-end job to be done, finished. So you've got to really understand what an MVP is. That's a topic for another day, but you can't just roll out something that's not complete. When I say complete, that doesn't mean all the features. It just means enough for the customer to complete their journey. Large, infrequent releases carry huge risk. you'll have resistance too, because it'll be such a change that users won't necessarily adopt that change easily. So slow changes. Use customer feedback loops to drive ongoing enhancements. Make release and improvement part of your culture, not the exception. And this is just my recommendation, but like I said, it's good to have a grounded product and then apply this continuous improvement on top of that, right? And you might have to do step changes when the organization requires it, when there's a pivot, internal pivot. I'm just going to talk about this before we move to number 10. So I'm going to chuck a product up there, which is eBay. So we'll talk about eBay and Airbnb. Airbnb has been known to change quickly. So the customers that use Airbnb quite technically literate, and they expect change. Those who use eBay don't expect much change, and it's usually more of a mass market. And it's really interesting. We've got a product here in New Zealand called Trade Me, which is the New Zealand eBay. eBay doesn't even trade in New Zealand because Trade Me is so big. Anyway, that product and eBay both don't change the UI much. They slightly change it over years. And to be honest, when you look at eBay, you think it was made, the first release was like, you look at it and go, this is 1990s software, right? But they are aware that if they made such a dramatic step change, people wouldn't know what they were doing and they would risk losing customers. Number 10, your role is part visionary, part translator. You speak business and tech fluently and know when to switch. Very, very similar to a BA role. A product manager explains API interaction benefits, right, and integration benefits to executives in terms of revenue opportunities while discussing data architecture trade-offs with the dev team. So they understand all the technical lingo and can work at different levels, which sometimes a BA won't get a seat at the executive table. Tailor your message to the audience. Clarity over jargon always. Don't sound smart. Keep the product vision front and center, even in technical debates, and be the bridge between strategy and execution. Look, managing products in an enterprise isn't just about building features. It's about orchestrating people, process, compliance, and strategy. Your job is to deliver long-term value. Keep these 10 essential tricks in mind. And you'll not just survive in enterprise product management, you'll thrive, and you'll probably be able to work in product management in a startup or a small organization. I'll see you next week.